1.
And it's live.
This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
Good evening, everybody, and honestly, I'm going to have to say this. Me and McClibbo are not having an affair this week, but we seem to be here every night. If you want to move in, Clibbo, you know, I've got a spare room.
If you've got room for a wolf as well, then maybe.
Well, no. Well, I don't know. I've got a couple of neighbours I'm not so keen on, so...
It's all that.
But no, thank you so much for joining us. Craig's in. Hi all, let's get behind the team now for this fight. Yeah, I mean, look, we've talked about him a lot, and I've still got the details from the other day when I brought all the facts up, and I'm not going to go through all those again. This is just basically like a reaction to him getting the job. And, I mean, I'm happy. I think compared to, you know, some of the options that were out there, I can't complain with this one.
No, and I think I've done a lot of listening to different people's opinions and, you know, trying to form my own opinion. But at the end of the day, it's a very new situation. It's a similar situation in some ways, but it's a very new situation that it's coming into. And when we start new jobs, we start with a blank slate, right? So I think in the situation we're in, one, we can't afford to be too picky. Two, I think is a better appointment than Kingy. I like Kingy, love Kingy, but I think he's shown that he's a little bit out of his depth at this point in his career. So I'm a little bit more optimistic today than maybe I was yesterday, even though I wasn't too down about it. I'm a bit more optimistic today. It's done. It's over the line. He's got a training session under his belt.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, you know, it wasn't announced until tonight, although I think everybody and his dog knew, even Vestergaard's dog, knew that he was taking a training session today, which is really weird that he took that before it was announced he'd got the job.
Yeah, well, I don't mind that too much, you know, because at this point, it's not like the beginning of the season where you can afford to be, you know, doing all the media stuff. I don't think people really cared too much about that at the end of the day. I think people just wanted the guy in, get training, get on the pitch, start looking at who could potentially work, who couldn't. I think that was the main focus. I don't really think too many people were that annoyed that it wasn't announced. There are going to be some, obviously.
I'm just saying it was a one. I mean, I'm just wondering, and I'm being silly here, but he said, like, well, before I commit to it, let me go and have a look what the players can do.
Quite possibly. Quite possibly.
Yeah, I've heard you a bit shit. But yeah. I mean, there's him and there's Callum Davidson. So Kingy really is, if you like, taking a back seat, isn't he?
Well, I mean, we don't know because, you know, Kingy is obviously going to be, I would imagine he's part of the coaching staff anyway, but I think he'll be that little kind of go between potentially, or like little bits of, if you need to ask somebody, probably King is the person to ask in some
Yeah.
respects. If he asks him about Jordan Ayew, perhaps don't listen.
You know, this is my worry. As you know, I've been saying that, whatever happens, keep Kingy because he's the link between the old regime and the new regime, like Shaky was when we got Ranieri in. But I don't know. I don't know that I just want him to go sort of down the pathway of just go down and go back to the youngsters, to be honest with you, because he hasn't shown me anything that fills me with any confidence. Love him to bits, but I think it's just a fact of life.
It is, but it's like being manager and then demoted to junior manager. What does that do for you? What does it do for the respect that you have from other people at the club?
Yes.
I don't think that's a good move. I think the best thing Kingy can do is disassociate himself with the club for a few years until it's all sorted out, and go and manage a League Two club and get some experience. Because I'd like him back here. I'd like
Yeah.
him back here in some capacity, but the situation he's in now, he's part of it. And I think, for somebody so young, well, he's 30 odd, for somebody so young to be thrust into that, inexperienced, it could taint your career going forward. And I'd like to go and see him do well as a manager somewhere, really kind of work his way up, and then eventually come back if he's done well.
Totally. And he is, like I say, to me, he's not the manager to take on at the end of the year, or the end of the season, I should say. Whether Rowett stays or whatever, I think he's possibly the manager after that. And like you say, maybe he has got to go away and learn his craft there. But he needs more time. And I think the problem is that people will look at him, and it was like Adam Sadler when he was manager. I forget who he was manager with now, but he came in, and the only reason I don't like him because I've associated him with carrying on where the guy before left off and not changing anything.
Yeah, again, we don't really know what they've been told to do. We're all kind of just guessing, surmising, we don't know what their remit was. The more I think about it, the more I think Kingy was told to keep things, try and get something different out, the same as what they've been doing. I mean, it doesn't make much sense to me, but I think probably that was just something to do with trying to take the pressure off of him, maybe.
I mean, Sadler, it's a dangerous game if that's what they're doing, because they're playing with our future. But Sadler was temporary manager with Mike Stowell for 2 games after Brendan Rodgers was sacked, and before.
Yeah, we remember that, don't we?
Yeah. But, and this is what gets me. It's just simple that you look at it and you go, this hasn't been working for however many games. So do you know what? I'm going to pick the same players, same formation, same style, and who knows? It might work for me. It's never going to fucking work for you. So why are you, I don't get why people do that.
Well, obviously Rowett's coming in. The proof will be in the pudding, because if he picks the same team, then we've got a problem somewhere. There is sort of a loose wire in the radio connection somewhere, because for me, I'm excited to see something different.
Totally. But what I'm thinking is sort of when it's a temporary manager, that's your chance, a couple of games to maybe go out and put your name down to the new incoming manager and say, look, I only had 2 games, but I changed things around and I got a pretty good, whether it was a couple of draws or whatever. But when you put in temporary charge, just to carry on doing the same shit that had been going on before that wasn't working, then to me, I just don't get it, to be honest with you.
For me, and it happens not just at Leicester. For me, that tells me that the assistant manager has just been briefed to be in charge of the team, not to make decisions.
Yeah. Well, let's have a look before we go and have a look at a couple of videos. And no, not that sort before anybody says anything. Craig says, hi all, let's get behind the team now for this fight. Advisor says, I'm hopeful with the new players in January and the new manager and the new director that we can turn the corner for this season. And to be fair, Rowett did give some blunt observations, the pundit, against our squad club. I hope he went into this with his eyes open. Hi Wheelie, how you doing? That's Stefan there. An erstwhile, I'm trying to think who I know you support Hibs. I'm trying to think who it was you supported down here. But yeah, you're welcome along, mate. I do. Advisor says, hate to see him go, but I think that could be the right move for him. I think he was talking about you saying about Andy King.
Yeah.
With King being on the coaching staff, it creates continuity for the incoming manager. That's what I would hope, but I just hope he doesn't go and say, "Oh, you need to pick Ayo up front. He's our best option," or stuff like that. Our wait is over, says Jeff. Hi, Jeff. How you doing? And we all need to back our new manager in this fight for championship survival. Advisor, I think King knew all along that it was temporary anyway. He did, but whether it's temporary or, 1 game or 6 games, it's your chance to put a mark on it. And doing what Marty had been doing exactly the same with the same players and everything like that, you're not going to get a different outcome. It's that old saying, the sign of insanity. Advisor says, I would argue that King did try some different players. Not sure about formation because it all changes when the ball is kicked. I think after the first game, he tried different things. You're quite right, Advisor. He tried playing Ayo, didn't he, Clibbo? Sorry, but it's true.
Just needs to at a very minimum, that guy needs to be on the bench or out the squad.
Yeah,
because he's been such a big part of the problem.
Yeah, and that should, when you're talking about the bench, I presume you mean in the bench at Vicky Park.
Yeah. With a sleeping bag.
Yeah, yes, exactly. We watch the rest of the season. We'll watch the rest of this on catch up as we have a busy day ahead of us. Thank you, Jeff. Jeff's in the Philippines, so he's many, many hours ahead of us. Have a good day, mate. You're probably on Thursday morning now already. So cheers. Oh yeah, and Stefan, it was of course it was Man United. How could I forget that? Before we get to the videos, Clibbo, the sobering thought is this is our 10th, and I know he's only temporary, but it's still permanent manager. This is our 10th permanent manager in 10 years.
Yeah, it's a sign of the times. I mean, there are, and I know it's a little bit more personal because it's our club, and we're obviously, we're a bit more investigative about it. But there's plenty of other clubs that are doing the same thing. I mean, like
that many. Do you think? Well, Watford, yes. I mean, we laugh at Watford, but we can't laugh at them anymore because they're just as bad. But I mean, and Forest this season, but we just like to laugh at Forest anyway. Let's be honest with you.
But it's getting worse, progressively getting worse, and it's because what we were talking about the other night. There's this instant gratification, this instant success, this instantness, and that's why these contracts are not worth the paper they're written on.
They're not. I just think, if you'd said, well, in the 10 years since, Ranieri, we'd had 3 or 4 managers, I kind of understand that, because you come in and you give a manager 5 months. Now, we don't know whether Marty could have gone on and done things with not with this squad, because we know that the squad that's there at the moment, if you forget the loanees and what have you, let's face it, the squad is pretty shit, isn't it? And I just wondered, sort of, had he been able to have their summer, maybe bringing some players in or what have you, he may have been able to do something, and we'll never know. And that's the thing, we'll never know.
What I will say on that is I wouldn't have given the benefit of the doubt based purely on his tactics.
Yeah.
If you wanted that opportunity, you have to realise that your stubbornness is contributing to the downfall of, well, at least this season. And if you wanted to try and make an impression, you had to change something. And he rarely did. He changed the system a couple of times, but it was half-arsed and half-hearted.
Totally, no, I totally agree with you. Well, advisor says there are no arguments about AU, but with injuries, any manager may have to have a choice. But Daka did okay in the game before, and I'm trying to think who it was. Who did we play? Oh, it was the first Southampton game. He did really, really well. But the second Southampton game, and you're not telling me he's not fit enough to play 2 games in a week, Daka. But in the second game, on comes AU. And I just, whether that's Marty or whether that's Kingy, they're both sort of like, come on, sort yourselves out. But shall we have a quick look at what Gary had to say?
Yes.
On his arrival. I don't know if anybody's seen this. It's only 3 minutes long, but let's have a look.
Championship for a long time. I know the division. Get on the front foot and attack games and try and win games. Like anything, this division, you've got to show a little bit of resilience. You've got to show a little bit of toughness, a real determination. I want to see hungry players that want to fight for the shirt in different ways and show their qualities in different ways.
Gary, welcome to Leicester City. How are you feeling to be sat here in Seagrave?
Excited. Yeah, the place has certainly changed since I played here many moons ago. I've seen a few faces that I know already and a few faces that are new. So yeah, it's an exciting challenge. Nice to get in the building and be able to get to work. I think that's the most important thing, to be able to get my hands dirty and start the work with the players. But yeah, really excited to be at a club that certainly has got the structure to kick on and push on and start to improve results.
Yeah, obviously results have not been going in our favour recently. What are your plans to try and turn things in our favour?
Yeah, look, I think everyone knows the situation that the team's in. I think everyone knows why they're there as well. I think it's important that we tackle that, we take that on board, but also, I've been in the Championship for a long time, I know the division, I've been in these positions before. I think it's also giving the players a clear and direct route out of it and what we need to do to try and improve results and try and start climbing the table and all feel better about where we are. I think that's the importance, it's wanting to tackle these 14 games, be really, really positive about it and try and find a few of the missing pieces and hope we can give everybody, including the fans, a really strong end to the season and a team that you're proud of and you want to see on the football pitch, a team that gives everything, a team that wants to dig in and hurt when it needs to, wants to suffer when it needs to, and also we know we can play some good football and control games as well. So it's finding the balance, it's finding what we need to do and yeah, it's meeting that challenge head on.
You mentioned what the fans can expect from a Gary Rowett team there. Is there a set philosophy that you're coming with?
Well, it's funny because as a player, I always felt as though I was the type of player that would just try and give everything I could. Perhaps there was more talented players than me, but I tried to make the best of what I was. And as a manager, I suppose it's still the same. I want to really structure the team well. I want to organise the team well. I also appreciate some of the talents that we have in the team, and it's trying to give them that base to go and flourish as well. And I think there's different ways to do it. But first and foremost, I think it's a team that we need to find that right balance, that right connection with the defensive side of the game and what's required in the Championship. but also, you know, we also want to get on the front foot and attack games and try and win games. You know, that's what this division's all about, and the games come thick and fast. You've got to move on quickly from game to game, but we'll go and attack games on the front foot and try and create a real excitement, you know, particularly in home games.
You've just overseen your first training session. How was it?
Yeah, it was windy, it was cold, but the facilities are fantastic. I think, you know, it's all about the people that bring the facilities to life, you know, the players, the staff, the coaches, you know, there's an enthusiasm there. I think when there's some new ideas as well, sometimes, you know, of course, the players buy into that quickly. We'll see how that manifests itself on the pitch, but certainly so far, I think everyone feels a little bit disappointed and frustrated where they are, so it's up to me to give them the tools to almost manifest that in a positive way and put that on the pitch on Saturday. You know, we can talk all we want during the week. Ultimately, it's about what we do at the weekend and in the midweek games. But also, it's nice to get out there on day one and work with the players and get to know some of them and build those relationships up as well. So some of those players I've worked with young Ben before, of course, at Oxford. I've worked with JJ at Birmingham. There's some other players that I know a little bit better than the others, and you know, but I'll soon get to know the personalities.
Yeah, I imagine you've already been able to do it a little bit, but what are sort of the main messages that you've been trying to get across to the players and will be doing in the next coming days? Yeah,
I think the main message really is, you know, how do you want to finish the season, really? I think it's a great opportunity. You can look at these positions in some ways. You can look at it with a little bit of trepidation, a little bit of fear, or you can tackle it positively and almost, you know, almost embrace the challenge, I think. And by embracing the challenge, you know, it's like anything, this division, you've got to show a little bit of resilience, you've got to show a little bit of toughness, a real determination to go and do what it takes to win games of football. But of course, there's lots of different ways of doing that. You know, you can do that by having a lot of the ball and attacking well, but, you know, in order to also attack well consistently, you need to have the right defensive structure and the right defensive balance. And this morning really was about sort of highlighting what we'll give the players, but also being really, really clear on what we need back in return. You know, that the discipline, the willingness to want to be the best player you can be, whether you're 36 or whether you're 16, it makes no difference to me. You know, I want to see hungry players that want to fight for the shirt in different ways and show their qualities in different ways.
Obviously, there's not too much time until your first game in charge. Away at your former side, Stoke, on Saturday, what's been the main focus heading into that game?
Yeah, I think sometimes the first day is about putting across some of the messages in terms of the culture and how you need that to look. You know, it's also a little bit around some of the principles that we've spoke to the players around, giving them trying to simplify the game a little bit for them, but also giving them a real clear basis of and a consistent message of how we want to do it and how we want to try and do it. I think the players have to bring that to life. You know, I think some of them are messages, there's a clear structure, but I think they have to bring it to life. I think that's the part of it where they need to feel that little bit of freedom, particularly in those attacking positions. You know, again, as the week progresses, we'll start to build towards the opponent, Stoke, and what we might need to do to try and, you know, give ourselves the best opportunity of winning a game of football. I'm a big believer really in, you know, you play all these different types of opponents, all different types of games. I think you have to really focus on yourself as well. I think it's about doing what you do consistently well. I think, you know, sometimes you can change every week to opposition coaches and managers, and whilst you respect the opponent, it's about what do we do and what do we really want to do well, and what do we want to, you know, what defines us as a team and the behaviours around that. So yeah, looking forward to seeing the team. It's a few days away yet. We've got plenty of work to do, but you know, we want to see a team that's certainly galvanised and ready to go out there and do everything they can to try and get a result.
There you go. I was just listening to that then, and I'm thinking, do I believe any of it? Because it's all manager speak, isn't it?
It is, but there are a couple of points that I picked up on. You know,
Oh yeah.
if you can get the defence sorted, and I think he's probably going to be a better person to do that. His track record shows that. It allows opportunity for attack. I think pace is going to be very important in this side, which obviously benefits the the wide men down the middle. I think it's going to. I mean, there's going to be times where these people will be blowing out their arse if they play his way. That's the worry for me, whether he can implement that and the players are fit enough. There was a huge drop-off from pre-season to season for me in terms of fitness, how they looked. So fair play to him. If he can implement 3/4 of what he said, I think we've got a fighting chance. But at this stage, it requires at least 3/4 of what he just said.
And I mean, I picked up on the same thing because I'm thinking like, well, look, the main problem, and I've always said, is when a manager comes in and takes on a new job, 7 times out of 10, it's because the predecessor has been sacked. You know, the rest of the time he's retired or he's been poached by another club. And if the manager's been sacked, it's because we're struggling. If we're struggling, it's because we're losing games. And you've got 2 defenders there in manager and assistant manager, because Callum Davidson is his, second his assistant manager, and because he was a not a bad defender himself.
No, I mean he wasn't. I mean he was a Scottish international, so he was an international. Yeah, I mean the thing is about those 2 players. It's like what he said. He wasn't the most talented, but he got the most out of what he had.
Yeah. And
I think most fans, except the unrealistic ones, most fans will look at that, and if that's how what he puts onto the team, then great. But there's the other side of that, where we have very, very talented players in the side, and it's like what he said there, which I picked up on, was you can keep changing your team to suit what teams you play. But for me in this league, I would put our best 11 against every other best 11 in the side. No doubt on their day. So why not carry that little bit of swagger? You will dictate here. When it's not working, you've got to have the cojones to change it. But in terms of a 1 to 11, I think he's looking at this squad going, right, they definitely shouldn't be down here. We should be at least playoffs, so let's get playoff form. And I'm hanging on to that.
Yeah. Advisor, thank you very much for your kind words. And look, he's here till the end of the season. Now, I have to say fair play to him for taking that on. He obviously didn't feel that he was going to get another full-time job at this stage. And it is a bit of a risk. There's not many clubs, unless you're Leicester, get rid of managers this late into the season. But, I mean, again, do you think that's a good move?
I do. What I would say is I hope the club, and I think they probably have, had a conversation where let's see how it goes, and then we can offer you. So let's say this is your year 1.
Yeah,
we can offer you a 2-year deal. I mean, my fear is that the club's hesitance has hindered him massively, because in the time that we've let Marty go, we played 4 games, 3 league games, 4 games.
Yeah.
There's potential 9 points. We've got 0 out of them. That makes the job much, much, much harder, because the groundwork needs to be done now. And you're looking at 3 or 4 games before things start to properly click, before they really understand what he wants from them. Now, if you look at those next set of games, we've got Stoke. All right, their league form hasn't been, it's not set any worlds on fire. But then we've got 2 very, very informed teams. And I think we've very much missed a trick, missed a boat. Now, bearing in mind, Gary Rowett's been out of management for a while. Yeah. We've been without a manager for a while. So basically tells me he wasn't first choice. He must know that as well. So these conversations, you would imagine, would have been had and hopefully ironed out.
Yeah, or not first choice, or were they just? We know they were talking to other people because you were interviewing the guy that had been Aberdeen manager.
Yeah,
Didn't get that at all. I'd never heard of the guy. But look, you
nor
can't
me.
look at Alex Ferguson. That's where he came from, but he was probably more successful at Aberdeen. So, I mean,
He was very
no,
much so.
yes, yeah. We don't know how much Gary Rowett was dragging his feet, do we? You know, that's the thing. And what I know, and we said this the other night. And I don't want to repeat too much of what we said the other night, but you know, Leicestershire Live was saying that when we sacked Marty, we had no plan in place to replace him, and that makes my blood boil so much because they should have. You know, it shouldn't have been that one game that got him sacked. And when it said, the other thing that I realised, and I didn't see this till afterwards, was that probably what changed Top's mind was the vitriol that was against the players and the club when he came because of the form. And maybe that's what tipped, you know, his balance and went, well, look, he's had long enough. But we said this so many times. Any business, any club worth their salt should have a backup plan in place in case it doesn't work out.
Yeah, and I mean, regarding what you said about maybe Gary was, you know, he had itchy feet or he was reluctant or whatever. That may be the case. But at the end of the day, we have now offered that guy a package that he's accepted.
Yeah.
So did we not offer him that package before where he might have accepted it 3 or 4 weeks ago?
I get what you're saying, but then, look, hindsight's a wonderful thing. But would it, because we hadn't got that plan in place, which is, I say, annoying, but do you think we had to sort of speak to other people as well? They had to decide whether they want to take somebody on 6 months or permanently or whatever.
Well, that's the infuriating thing, isn't it? That's cost us 9 points and invaluable time.
100%, 100%. Look, we don't know. We'll never know, will we? We'll never know. All we know is that the club is badly run. But look, I did a show earlier, and I had somebody that, if you look on his bio, says he used to work for Leicester City, and I'm guessing it was in, you know, obviously sales or something like that. He's a suited gentleman, and he's sort of saying, "Why does this page always get it wrong?" And then I said, "If you think that, why are you still in? That's brainless, you know." But I'm just reporting what other people are saying. But I did a show earlier, as you know, about this new sporting director, stroke technical director, stroke tea lady, whatever you want to call him. A title is a title. Is he working alongside John Rudkin? Is John Rudkin being pushed aside? But nothing's being said to save face for him. But we've got him hopefully coming in very, very quickly. So maybe again, we didn't want to get a manager in until we knew pretty sure that he would be coming.
But again, it's all about the urgency and the timing. If things would have been in place sooner, when we desperately needed it, if you've got like you should be having contingency plans. This now is not aligned, is it? Because I would hesitate to guess that this guy would not be picking Rowett, right? I could be wrong, but I would hesitate to guess the clubs he's been at and, you know, his philosophy. I wouldn't align it with a Gary Rowett signing. So that's maybe one reason why it's to the end of the season. It maybe gives this sporting director time to settle in whilst those people get on with trying to save the club on the pitch. Maybe that's it.
This guy really excites me, and do guys go out and check it about him possibly being appointed. But again, the people that are it's in quite a few mainstream media outlets now. I mean, this guy, he was at the Premier League. He left the Premier League to join Manchester City, which is obviously part of the City Group. He ended up going to a Belgium club. Then he was coming back to Manchester City. For him to take on this job, wow. Yeah, I mean, looking at this, I have to say, as much as we like to criticise people, I have to say, and I said it earlier, well done, Top.
Yeah. If it's Top that's, gone out and done the business, yeah. I mean, I will always give credit where it's due. I think I'm quite reasonable. I have my rants where I'm fuming about stuff.
Yeah, of course, yeah, of course, yeah.
In the round, I think I'm quite reasonable. My criticisms of Top of late, I think, have been justified. And quite a few other people have agreed.
I'm not saying that they're not justified, but I'm just thinking if this guy comes in, this is the guy that I would sooner have this guy over Nigel Pearson, and I love Nigel Pearson to death. But, we know Nigel Pearson calls a spade a spade. He doesn't, he upsets a lot of people.
Well, this is a long-term appointment, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. To get this guy from the City Group, and he's been at the Premier League, so I'm obviously being at the City Group, maybe he can get us off PSR. Everybody's been saying that. Who knows? Yeah. But this is exciting me. Rowett is exciting me. And I do apologise if you've already answered this, but is the 6-month deal the right thing to do?
Yes, I do think it is. Providing they've looked ahead and thought, right, this isn't the end if you do well.
Yeah.
I think, evening, Jim, by the way. Just seen that in the comments. I would like to think that they've sat down with him and said, listen, we don't know where we are financially next year. We don't know what, we don't know the direction of what we want to do until the new guy comes in. Can you save us? Here's a bonus. And then we can potentially look. We can sit down, see what went right, see what went wrong, and maybe offer you another contract if that's something that you would be interested in. I think that is a fair way to do it.
Yes, yeah.
Because it offers him more of an incentive, doesn't it?
It does. I read this to you before I came, before we went live. This is a gentleman he invited me onto his show. He's a Stoke fan, and he invited me onto his show tonight, which obviously, with the news breaking, I wasn't able to do. And I was at the hospital this afternoon. So, but he messaged me. This was the conversation we had. Great stuff. Are you free any time today, tonight? So I said, seeing a mate in hospital this PM, setting off in a bit, just finished a show, and tonight will depend whether the shithole of a club appoints Gary Rowett today or not. And he said, remembering he's a Stoke fan, he'll be there for the weekend to enjoy getting one over on us, don't you worry. We'll still be singing Gary Rowett, your football is shite, even if we are 3-0 down. And I'd been out and I'd come in and doing, catch up on a few things. He then messaged me and went, Rowett confirmed, my advice, take a book to the game. And I said, well, as long as he keeps us up, and so sorry I can't do it tonight. And he went, yeah, to be fair, he's likely to do that, which is encouraging, as long as the Flair players buy into his ways. And I said, fancy popping on our show at 9 to discuss him for us? And he said, no, I'm doing that. I can if it's available. I mean, I want to know who these flair players are. Your thoughts on what that gentleman was saying? Dan Stokes, it was. Believe it or not, is a Stoke fan. Your thoughts on that?
I think amongst the sort of jest in there were some fair comments. But like I said to you off air, I think people are much more likely to get behind a team that are defending for their lives and try and keep a 0-0 than passing it round for 10, 15 balls and then losing it and then causing the stadium to be anxious.
Yeah.
So no, I don't agree with that because of the situation we're in. I think if you're looking at that from the start of the season, I think it's got more relevance. But they're fair points. But we can't look at it like that anymore. We're not in a position to say what kind of football we've tried the pretty football way. People are switching off, not turning up. They're fed up with it. So to see blood and thunder, which is what I think will have to be. I mean, you mentioned it. You need to be physical. You need to be up for a fight. I mean, I'm a little bit old school. I quite like to see somebody get kicked off halfway in the air, as long as it's done fairly.
Yeah. The other thing as well is, do you think, I mean, this is somebody I think that the crowd can get behind. They can look at him and go, and we discussed yesterday, he's only had one relegation on his CV. You could argue that he's been sacked before the teams have gone down, but he has only got that one relegation on his CV, and that was when he was at Birmingham, when he'd only been in for the last 8 games. But when you look at this, every team that he's managed, was it Burton his first team? I can't remember now. But all the others have been championship teams. And he's got the experience of this division. And then you think, well, had we gone and got this, whoever he is, from Aberdeen, and I'm thinking, like, what would he have known?
No, that's very left wing. That very left appointment.
It was. I mean, everybody's kind of going for it, and it's being picked up by a lot of people. But yeah, Birmingham, Derby County, Stoke, Millwall, and Oxford, all in this division. None of them when he was there. So Birmingham got money now, but none of them when he was there had a lot of money. And wouldn't it just be the way of, we've appointed a manager whose last team was one of his previous teams we're playing, and we go out and beat them?
Well, yeah, I mean, you kind of new manager bounce thing, and he's got a bit of knowledge of the club.
The Stoke City thing, that it might just rub off. Because how many times do ex-players and ex-managers come back and beat us,
Well, so I'm saying he's got knowledge of the club a little bit. He's got some inside. And I think because he got sacked from there, he'll want to put one over even more. But let's get down to the nuts and bolts.
He wasn't sacked at Stoke, I don't think.
Yeah, he was sacked after about 24 games.
What was he? Right, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, 24, something like that.
I'll stand corrected. Do carry on, sir.
But in terms of this job, this is his biggest audition. He's got better players. He's got, in my eyes, potential top part of the championship players, with some very good players mixed in on their day. So you can't use that as an excuse. So he's got the tools. He's now got to go and prove it. And he's now in a situation where, yes, he is fighting fires, but he's got a much better arsenal to play with. All right, he hasn't got great strikers. But this is his audition. This is his platform to get a good job in the championship.
Yes. I mean,
and who knows?
If he does like Dean Smith did, comes in doesn't keep us up, it really there's no blame is attached to him really because he's only
None,
had
none,
games. Yeah, you know.
none.
So,
The only
you know,
thing that he'll get out of this is if we stay up, the credit.
yes. But well, you know, but if we go down, he'll walk away, and he'll say, "Well, what could I do? Look, docked 6 points. Look at the shit they're in, and all this." So say it's a win-win situation for him, but it's pretty. There's worse positions to be in, isn't there? Good sense from Clibbo. What have you been drinking, Mark? I'll have a pint. Joking, Clibbo, joking.
That's all right. My
Yeah.
screen's frozen, by the way. So if I look gormless,
Well, more than usual.
yeah.
Open the door. I'm
Even-
going to walk in, mate. Yeah.
Even my mouse is frozen, so I can't even jump out and jump back in. Sorry.
Well, I can see you, and you're moving at my end. So as long as you can hear me, let's. I mean, if you want to, you say you can't because it's frozen anyway. But we'll just have a look at this. This was his training video when he was, he turned in, and I mean, this doesn't say anything really, does it? Because it could be, anybody, and it probably looks exactly the same as Andy King when he was doing it.
Yeah.
What I wanted to ask you though was, and you asked me earlier,
We're still around, aren't they?
if he,
Matty,
let me just turn this down so he can
Matty's
talk.
still doing it. Walshy.
If we go out on Saturday and we look at Ricardo at right back, Thomas at left back, and Ayew up front, what you asked me what I would think. What would you think?
I would think that he has no faith in the other players. Genuinely.
Yeah.
Because for me, they're last resorts now. They're been part of the problem for so long. Unless he finds a way of playing a system that they like, that their attributes in, which I can't personally see that happening in one training. Well, less than a week in a training session.
Yes.
But you never know. But what I will do is that I will watch the game purely because it's a new manager. Let's see what he's got to offer. I will try my very best to ignore the fact that he's picked those players and judge it on what he can get out of them. But if it doesn't work and he picks them again, then already my kind of faith in, well, my trust, I don't like using the word faith, my trust will start to wane very quickly.
For me, I would go back to what the hell are you doing? You're coming to a club where, whatever we're doing isn't working, because even with those 6 points, we're not exactly clear of the relegation zone, as in we're still in the battle for it. But, for him to come in and go, I'm going to do a 4-2-3-1 with the same players, I would allow it for this first game because he has only got half a week. Let's be honest with you. He's got 2.5 days to get this team ready. So I would allow it for this first week. If we then lose this weekend and he then picks the same players, same with you, and the same formation, I'd be the same as you. Right, this isn't the guy for me.
No, it'd be like the tail wagging the dog, wouldn't it?
And this is my worry, that he's going to go to King here and say, right, tell me about the players. You're the link here, sort of thing. Yeah, I've had 4 weeks of being out of work. Maybe I was approached and I've been watching the games and what have you. But you tell me, and King is going to go, well, I picked Ayew because he's still got something to offer, and Ricardo's, our most experienced player. And I'm thinking, that's what worries me, because he may be going off what Andy King is telling him, and I honestly don't trust what Andy King is telling him.
Well, no, but he's an experienced pro, and you would have to think that he wouldn't be naive enough to take the opinion of somebody who's been in charge for 4 games and lost 4 games. So I think he will be very, be very clear on what he would like from him in terms of advice. But also, I think if you're, like with any job, if you're managing or a manager, you go into the situation and you want your own opinions. You know what it's like? You've got mates and you go, oh, that bloke over there, he's a right tosser. You've never met them before. Really, you want to make your own mind up, don't you?
They do.
You don't want to sort of be
That's
judging.
fine.
But I also think I've been working behind the scenes and watching quite a lot of Leicester games anyway. If he'd got aspirations of being a manager in the Championship in the future, he'll be watching lots of Championship games, keeping on top of how the Championship is working this season, what's the general standard. So he would have seen enough of Leicester, either as a pundit or somebody at home, to know enough.
Didn't he? No, he didn't play us the second time. He'd gone by then, hadn't he? But the interesting thing in his course, he's been doing punditry work, and one of the best ways of watching teams is to do punditry work, because you've got to really watch the game to be able to talk about individual players and what have you. So in his Championship games, I think that he has been watching. But I mean, at the end of the day, whatever the result, etc., we've got to get behind him, haven't we?
Well, listen, I think at this stage, and it brings me on to something I wanted to speak about anyway. I was all for the protest prior to all this going on, but the danger, I think, is that it's going to antagonise the situation even more. I think that we have the right to do it, but I think you've got to choose your battles, and you've got to choose them at a time when it's appropriate. I think if we win, let's say we get a draw against Stoke, and we draw or win against Middlesbrough, people's optimism is going to be there, and I think something like that could really throw a spanner in the works. I just hope if it's going to go ahead, I just hope it goes ahead peacefully and not too disrespectfully. Do you know what I mean? Because there will be people who are very angry right now, and I can understand that as well. But you don't want to act out of emotion where this is concerned.
No.
I say let's get this season out of the way.
Yeah.
And then potentially last home game of the season, I think would be a good time to reflect on how the season's gone. I think in terms of top, my personal opinion is that ship has sailed now. I don't think there's very much he could do to get the trust back from the majority of the fans. And I understand that.
It's funny how we go from, and it's football fans the world over. 1 minute you love a player, then you hate him. 1 minute you think you've got fantastic owners, 6 months later you're hating them. It's football for you. That's that's how it goes. But the interesting thing I think this protest for me needs to be put on hold.
I think so. I think that's the key thing, on hold.
Yes, because, what is Gary? And let's say Gary somehow manages to keep us up, and at the end of the season, he could very well come along and go, you know what, don't want the job, But unlikely, I grant you. But the new guys come in, we don't know if it's going to be good or bad. It's probably going to look. We've got 14 games left. It's probably going to take all of those 14 games if we're going to stay up. It might even go down to Blackburn on the final day. And let's be honest with you, we've still got the turds that were here before trying to polish them. But yeah, do your protest. And I'm nothing against protests. We're allowed to protest. We live in a democracy, in a free country. However, please, can't you just leave it until the new season? Or the like you said, the last game, because now whether you like Rowett or not, whether you like this guy that's coming in as the technical director, sporting director, street cleaner, whatever it is, now is the time to get behind. And I've been thinking, like I said, if we do see Ayew and Ricardo and Thomas, I'll be disappointed, but I am not going to go off on a rant like I have done before because that's not fair. I'll be disappointed if we lose, but I can't be angry when it's his first game.
No, I think the focus really needs to be on supporting the team and supporting Rowett for the 14 games that we've got left.
Yeah.
I think the bigger picture is obviously the ownership and the demise really of the club through the ownership. Whose ever fault it is.
Yeah.
I think that does need to be addressed. Like I say, I was for the protest, but I don't think that it's all about timing. It's about having the maximum passively, the maximum effect at the key time. And I think with the last few days' events, potentially two new appointments, the timing has got to change. I'm not saying that the protest has to change, but I think my personal opinion, I know there's a lot of people that will disagree with me, and that's fine. But my personal opinion is the timing needs to change.
And also, if we are going to protest, and like I say, I would not be against people protesting. It's up to them. It's booing at the end of the game. That's up to them. Do it with respect. We've heard a lot of horrible chants and accusations being thrown out. And whatever I think, for example, John Rudkin is the one I'm thinking of, and Top got racist abuse as well. Whatever I think about these people, and whatever I think about John Rudkin, I do not wish him dead.
No, see things like that. I just think that's just a little bit. I understand how frustrating and angry people get because sometimes I can be quite hot-headed when I'm passionate about something particularly. But to chant things like that shows one how bad the standards of ownership has got, but also the fans' standards. And I think, going down as a kid and as a teenager and an adult, I think our fans have been pretty good actually over the years. Considering the dross that we've had to watch over the years until the success came, I think the fans have been pretty good. But I think, and it's certainly not a majority of fans for a start. It's a minority, but unfortunately, a minority say something like that, they become the focal point, don't they?
They do. They do.
We've got a media like we've got now that are everywhere. There's cameras, mics, everywhere around the ground. It gets highlighted.
Oh, it does. It does. But like I say, there's a time and a place, and there's also a way of doing things. Let's hope. It'll be interesting because you're back with me on Friday for the preview. So what I'm going to ask you to do for that, Clibo, is I want you to do what I did last week, which, we've spoken about how Rowett plays, and I can send you all the things I did if you want on the on.
No,
I've
done me genning up.
Yeah. So basically, pick a team that you think he might go for. Doesn't have to be the 4-2-3-1. He may go for that because it's his first game in charge, and it may be a bit early to actually. And in fairness, if he leaves the team as a 4-2-3-1 and he does start Ayew up front and we're absolutely shy, he's then got a reason to say to people, you didn't perform for me. I'm having to drop you. Where if he does it now, they would be quite willing to say, well, you've not seen me play. How can you drop me? So it's a double-edged sword, really, isn't it?
Well, I think Gary Rowett has seen him play. I think he's probably seen him play several times this season.
But you know what you know the point I'm making. But yes, hopefully he has. Anyway, well, look, you've been a star this week, Clibbo. I would have struggled without you. I really do appreciate it, and thank you very much. But like I say, it's not over this week. You've got another night of me. It's a good job we're both single. Otherwise, we'd have partners that'd be going mad, you know. What is it with you and Clibbo?
The benefits.
Yes, but no, thank you very much. I will see you on Friday at 9 o'clock. At 8 o'clock, sorry. We'll be back here at 8 o'clock tomorrow with the prediction show. That's going to be me and Wayne. You can have a night off tomorrow, Clibbo, you'll be pleased to know.
Yep.
And thank everybody that was in the chat and was in the chat earlier. Smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, click the notification bell, and if you're on your mobile phone, don't forget to give us a hype. Thanks to everybody. Thanks, Clibbo. And we'll see you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock for the prediction show. Take care, everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network.
TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.